Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at this collection of fantasy collections that was published in 1989 that I picked up when I was a kid. There's a short story in here that was written by a science fiction famous author named Isaac Asimov, which is in the fantasy genre, called The Legend of the Three Princes, which we're taking a look at today. It's about 22 pages long. I went back and read it because I was between novels. And so I had some time to knock out a short story, but not to start my next novel. So I wanted to go ahead and read this. I haven't read it since I was a kid, probably in junior high. It was published in 1987, a couple of years before. This collection is also edited by Isaac Asimov and Martin Greenberg for you folks. I'll link you to it in the comments below in case you're interested. I'll try to find this for you. Visions of Fantasy. If not, should I find you this short story, maybe in its original collection for you folks or some other places. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started with what I think of the Legend of the Three Princes. So this is set in a kingdom a long time ago, and it's in the smallest and poorest kingdom in the world, and it's not well known. It's so poor that the king has to work in the fields with the gardening and so forth, and the farming, and the queen has to work in the kitchens and the cooking. That's how poor they are. So, but the rich, one thing, according to Isaac Asimov, and that's kids. They have three sons, all of which were born at the same time. They're triplets. So the first question that they ask is who's going to rule, because they were all born at the same time, and then they figure it out later. So they raised them all three to be capable kings, so that way they can figure it out later. So the first one, who's the biggest one and the tallest one, is called Primus, and he is big and strong. He develops his strength over time. He does his studies, but then he also devotes himself to his strength, developing his growth, doing exercises and so forth, and he's super strong. All right, the next biggest one, Secundus, is the fighter of the group. He's the middle size of the two. Of the three rather. He's smaller than Primus, but he's a great fighter. He develops a craft with the blade, with the spear throwing, with arrows, and with horse riding too. So he's a great warrior, and that's his specialty. And the third largest prince, or the smallest one of them too, is called Tertius, and he is good at music and writing and so forth, and would probably be a bard in a modern day context in the post D&D world. That's his class, and the people of the kingdoms feel comfortable with Primus taking over because they're sure he can defend them against any bad guys that might come their way, or Secundus because he's a strong warrior. But not so with Tertius, the one who's good at singing and so forth. So like, what good would he be at defending ourselves? So anyway, so now it's time for the parents to choose who's going to be of these three, which one of these is going to be the thing. Here's the issue: what their country needs, because it's so small and so poor, is money. So to invest in its infrastructure, and they don't have it. So what they're going to do is, there is an emperor in a far distant kingdom with just one daughter, and this princess thus when she marries, that man will become the heir of that kingdom, and they're super rich. And the king is supposed to be a really nice person. She's supposed to be a really attractive person, and so forth. But she's a sorceress, and so here's what the person who will rule this small, tiny kingdom will be. The first one, the one who marries her, will be the one that rules. So the three go off now, because she's a sorceress and she's very talented. She's also pretty arrogant too. And she has killed everybody who has pursued her by turning them to stone with her sorcery. So that's what's been happening for you folks. And so now the dangers has been locked in, and now the three princes will set off to the emperor and his empire and his daughter, and begin to wage their suits. And that's the beginning of the story. It's about 7 or 8 pages into a 22-page short story, so I'll leave you there as to what winds up happening. But that's the setup. As a reminder, keep my review spoiler free. This is Isaac Asimov, right? So it's well written, as I'm sure, and especially later in his life. It's well written, it's well done. I like the ending. I thought it was a fun short story. It feels more like a fairy short story with only magic in one place, and that's the sorceress petrifying people that are the failed suitors. So it's really it's kind of magic light, if you will, kind of like a fairy tale. I thought the story was light. I thought it was fun. I thought it was breezy, and it's Asimov too. It's a popular guy, even though he's not writing his genre, and he's in the comparable-ish craftsman now. So I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10 because it's so strong for you folks. So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read this short story? If so, what did you think about it? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Did you agree to disagree with my 8.5 out of 10? As a reminder, this channel is the worst thing about new books. Title, a quote by a French philosopher named Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about new books was that they kept us from reading the old ones. And so a short story was written in 1987, and in this collection in 1989, when I was a kid, is definitely an older work. And I sometimes like to go back and read these older works that I read when I was a kid, and see what I think now as somebody who's now in his mid-40s, right? And this is decades later. And I think there's some fun value in that. Right, and so I've gone back and done this with a lot of things. And I thought it would be fun to do it with this collection too, in this short story, which I remembered liking when I was a kid, and I still like it now as an adult. It's fun. So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. If you enjoyed this, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. And then finally, I just want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing and watching my video, because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.